Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind, episode 118.
The huge paradigm shift for me was when I realized and was taught how connected our emotions are to our physical body. And once I learned that, when we can control our emotions, when we can get into our minds, when we can decide and choose what we think, then we really are deciding and choosing how we feel on an emotional level, and that will reflect on the physical level.
Benjamin Franklin once said, "Do not curse the darkness, rather light a candle instead." If you're ready to set your mind on fire, then prepare yourself for the Luminous Mind with your host, Rebecca Bowman.
Today's fire starter is Allison Larsen. Allison is a certified Reflexology Reiki Master, speaker, and mother who promotes a holistic approach to health and wellness. She's the owner of Family Foot Reflexology and has trained mothers all over the world in foot zoning, as well as helped guide thousands of other people on their journeys to greater health and wellness through classes, retreats, presentations, and individual sessions. Allison enjoys learning and sharing the skills that has helped her to overcome struggles with anxiety and become a more confident mother, wife, and daughter of God. She enjoys family history work and loves to connect families together. Among her favorite things to do is traveling with her handsome husband, and for amazing children, she is passionate about life and believes that joy can be found in every step of the journey. I love that word, every step of the journey. And she's a foot zoning specialist. Thank you, Allison, for joining us.
Well, you are welcome. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm glad you find my husband handsome as well.
Yep. Anyway, would you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, I would be glad to. So I am a mother of 4 amazing children, as you just stated. And the amazing thing is that I'm still loving being a mom, and 2 of them are teenagers. Can you believe that?
Oh, that's awesome.
It's been wonderful, and it's been absolutely an amazing growth experience for me. So I have 2 beautiful teenage daughters, and then I have a 12-year-old son and a 10-year-old son. And as you mentioned, I love to travel with my family. Some things that I really like to do, I play the cello. I love to play the cello and bring music into people's lives. I also am a self-proclaimed chocolate lover. And I don't know if there's anybody else on the call that feels that same way. I'm way into health and fitness, but you know what? I love my chocolate. How about you, Rebecca? Are you a chocolate
Oh, yes,
lover?
I am. Yeah.
Oh, we have one thing in common then, for sure.
Exactly. And then tell us a little bit more about your profession and how you've, found your mission to do what you love to do.
Yeah, I would be glad to. So I am the owner of Family Foot Reflexology. And, I can remember from being a really young girl and loving to get up and talk in front of people, which is crazy because I think that's the number one fear. But I remember being a young child in primary at my church, and someone forgot their talk. And I said, I volunteer. And I remember the teacher saying, do you even have a talk prepared? And I said, no, I'll just make one up. I just had this passion for speaking to people and teaching people. And I can remember just really having this desire ever since I was little to help people, to really help them. And so I went through a journey in my life. I, at one point, was going to go into social work. That was actually my major in college. Ended up getting my degree in something else. I was a personal trainer, still am a certified personal trainer, but really found that the social work didn't allow me to dress on a holistic level, and neither did the personal training. And so it was amazing. I was not into any kind of holistic health, holistic or alternative types of healing. Grew up in a family where you got sick, you go to the doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You go to the pharmacy, you do these things. It just totally was ingrained in me, and that's how I grew up. So it was really amazing to me when my friend was becoming a foot zone practitioner, when she was getting her certification in reflexology as well, and she needed somebody to practice on. So I thought, oh, I'll be a good friend. I will help my friend, right?
Yeah.
Little did I know how much she was going to help me. And what had happened was I had been dealing with some health challenges ever since the birth of my fourth child. I'd struggled with asthma. I had struggled with constant sinus infections and really had this low level of energy. I also struggled with OCD as a teenager, and that anxiety, although most people couldn't tell, I still struggle a lot with anxiety as a parent. So when I went to her for the first foot zone, this practice one where I was going to help her out, she was able to identify not only the physical issues, but also help me to recognize some emotional issues through the foot that were roadblocks in my life. And she helped me through those tools turn those roadblocks into stepping stones that would allow me to experience greater health and wellness in my life. And I knew I could not know that information and not share it with other people. And so I began my own journey to become a practitioner and to become a reflexologist. And what we did was my friend and I learned from the same lady, and she was retiring. And she said, hey, I'm going to hand over this information to you. And she had just taught small groups of people. And so what we did was, I remember sitting at my friend's kitchen table and deciding, wow, we love this information. We want to empower other mothers and other families to be able to heal within their home. So we hired a graphic design artist, created charts, and created a program that now reaches to people all over the entire world.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
It is really amazing.
So go ahead and give us a little bit more of like the inspiration behind your work. I don't know if a lot of our audience members even really know what foot zoning is. For me, it just sounds like a really nice foot massage. Is that what it is? Or maybe explain a little bit more about that.
Well, gosh, that's why I tell people, at the very least, you're going to get a great foot massage. Who doesn't love that? I would be glad to tell you a little bit more about what reflexology and foot zoning are. So you hear me use those terms interchangeably, and there's about 1 million different definitions out there. But how we define it is reflexology is when you work a specific reflex point on the foot. And there are over 120 reflex points that correspond with different points in the body. So if you think back to health class, or back to maybe you took a class in college that had to do with human health and human body, if you picture that body of the nervous system, so that drawing of a body with the nerves running through the nerve channels end in the hands, head, and feet. And those are the places where we can do reflexology. Now, a foot zone is when you put all 120 reflex points together and work them in a specific order with a specific motion to work the body in its entirety. So, for example, reflexology comes in really handy, like when my child wakes up in the middle of the night and they have an earache. I can work the ear point on their foot, and that sends a message to help that area of the body to be able to reach homeostasis and to heal. It sends a message through the autonomic nervous system to either relax or to stimulate, depending on what the body needs. And that's the great part about it. It's not overriding any body systems. A full foot zone is really helpful, like once or a week or twice a month. And one of the biggest benefits of a full foot zone physically is that your lymphatic system gets a natural flush through that. So our lymphatic system does not have a natural pump to it. Like our respiratory, our lungs are the natural pump, or our circulatory, our heart is the natural pump. And so things like massage, exercising, and foot zoning are great just to help that lymphatic system get flowing. And I always tell people, Rebecca, have you ever swum in a pool that the pump was broken?
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, totally gross, right? And that's how our lymphatic system works for our body, is it's a natural pump for our body and helps to filter out those things like bacteria and viruses that aren't good for our body. So if our lymph system's sluggish and if it's not working, then we are not going to feel very, very good, and we may even get sick.
Yeah, and I've seen those charts, where they show you different points on your, on your foot that matches different points on your body. Is that what you're talking about? That each, you have a different pressure point, I guess, on your foot that matches that. Is that correct?
Yeah,
then?
exactly.
And do you work with oils with that, or what's?
I do. Yes. In fact, essential oils and reflexology go hand in hand. It's amazing because they work very similarly. They're both working with the body to help create a state of homeostasis where the body can heal. And both, like I mentioned before, work naturally. So they help remind the body of what it's already supposed to be doing. And it doesn't override the body like when you are to take an over-the-counter medication. We aren't replacing or overriding any of the body's systems. We're simply reminding the body what it's already supposed to be doing. So that's a really great benefit of reflexology and doing a full foot zone.
That's awesome. I'm going to have to go get one. I'm just like salivating. I'd love to have my feet massaged. But, do you want to tell me what you think your overall paradigm has changed with your time and with your experience? You talked about at the beginning, when we're growing up, our parents, when we get sick, we go to the doctor, and you've talked about how this has changed your life. Just give me kind of an overall synopsis of what you think your paradigm has changed with your time and experience.
Yes. The interesting thing is that there has been a physical shift. The way I perceive how my physical body works is different. But the huge paradigm shift for me was when I realized and was taught how connected our emotions are to our physical body. And once I learned that when we can control our emotions, when we can get into our minds, when we can decide and choose what we think, then we really are deciding and choosing how we feel on an emotional level, and that will reflect on the physical level. And that has been the biggest shift for me. I mentioned earlier when I first went to my friend having suffered from chronic sinus infections. And I remember her working a point on my foot and asking me, "Do you have sinus problems?" And thinking, "Oh my goodness, how can she know that from my foot? That blows my mind."
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
And then for her to say, "Well, did you know that there's been research done and there's actually people that have sinus problems experience common negative emotions?" She said, "Would you like to know the emotion behind sinus problems?" And I thought, well, maybe it's just me, but I didn't know sinuses had emotions. What is this? But it was amazing because as I looked, and the book that she referred me to was Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die by Carol Truman. And as I looked at the research of the emotions that people with sinus infections share, that was exactly what I had been experiencing for the past 4 years.
Well, and you talked about the anxiety. Was that connected with your emotions and then the science? Is all of that connected, with your sinuses?
Yes, it is all connected. And I could tell you story after story. One interesting story that I will tell, and this has helped my family and my kids so much. This experience was with a friend, and I just kept getting the thought that I needed to call her, and I didn't, and finally I did. And I said, "How are you doing?" And she said, "I'm horrible. I've been going to doctors, and there's something wrong with my stomach. And I'm in a lot of pain, and nobody can tell me what's wrong." And I said, "Well, I suggest a foot zone with some essential oils. I think it would really help." And she did not. She was like me before I knew about the foot zone, and she kind of brushed me off. "Oh, thanks so much. Maybe sometime. I don't really have time in the next month."
Yeah,
totally
you're a little crazy.
Exactly. And she had kind of made light of it before about what I did. But a couple weeks later on Facebook, she posted, "Does anybody have any suggestions of what could be going on? I've been to every doctor. I spent tens of thousands of dollars. Nobody can tell me what's going on, and I'm screaming in my pillow." And I wrote, "Just simply foot zone." And she called me and said, "I'm ready. Will you please come give me a foot zone?" And I did. And it was so amazing because I expected her digestive system and her stomach system points to show up in her feet, which they did. But there were other points that showed up too, like her elbow and her hip. And she said, well, physically, I'm not having any problems with my elbow and my hip. But when we looked up the emotion behind those, which that's one thing, foot zoning and reflexology is amazing. You can actually recognize things before they manifest physically. She realized that she was having a lot of stress and anxiety concerning a decision about a job in her family and what she wanted to do. And she just started crying when she read that. And she said, wow, I've totally been feeling this way. And I said, have you ever felt that way before? And she said, I have. And you know what? The same thing happened last time I felt this way.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
It was. And what we did was we walked through when she recognized and put a name to the anxiety and negative emotion she was feeling. She could then let them go. She could choose how she wanted to feel. And I teach people how to do that. But what ended up happening, she called me the next day and she said, I'm better.
Wow.
My stomach does not hurt at all. And she said from that point on, her stomach didn't hurt. And it just amazed her. And when she went back to the doctors, and I'm not anti-doctor or anything. I mean, I totally believe, there's time, there's a place. But she said, here's what happened, and I'm better. And they said, oh, we could have told you that. It was just IBS caused by stress. And
boy.
I know. She said, well, why didn't you tell me that tens of thousands of dollars ago?
Wow.
So this is the real value of the foot zone. That was my paradigm shift. When I can recognize that my body has something going on, an ache or pain physically, it may be indicating that there's an emotion or something that is negative going on inside my mind or inside my emotional body, that if I process or work through is going to create an atmosphere that's more conducive to health.
Yeah, that it affects your what's going on mentally actually does affect your body.
Exactly. Scientists have proven that we have 7 to 8 seconds to either dismiss a thought or we start to feel the emotion that goes along with it.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So go ahead and tell us some of the challenges that you've had along the way and then things that you've learned from them over, with your experience that you've had.
Yeah, I've had a couple of challenges along the way. One of the things that I have learned is that our weaknesses are often our strengths turned up too high. Our weaknesses are often our strengths turned up too high.
That's so true.
Isn't that true?
That is very true.
So I mentioned my struggle with OCD and anxiety. Well, one of my gifts is to be able to really focus. And it's been a huge blessing for me as a reflexologist and foot zone practitioner because I can focus on my clients and be 100% present. However, that focus, when not directed in the right area, can turn into OCD or anxiety. When I begin to focus on the what ifs or the what could happen, then I start to experience that anxiety. And so what I have learned is that I can choose where to place my focus. And it's very, very empowering when you recognize that you can choose how to feel and where to focus. Another struggle that I had, honestly, was I had a lot of preconceived notions about how people were going to react to what I was doing. I grew up in a very traditional family. I had a lot of friends that were very traditional when it came to healthcare. And I had to really get over some of those blocks so that I could share this amazing tool with other people. And what it really came down to was recognizing that I had a gift. And when I was brave enough and courageous enough to share that gift with others, that it would help them.
Yeah. Sometimes our fear of what we're doing, this is what I'm getting what you're saying, but that fear stops us from wanting to really share our message, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like you're a candle, right? You have this amazing information that's going to help warm or light the room and you're like trying to hide it. And eventually your flame is going to go out, right? So
yeah. Before we go on, let us take a minute and hear about our sponsors. Changing a paradigm takes some study, but like me, you are probably super busy. That's why we've teamed up with Audible. Go to our website, theluminousmind.net. Get a free month of Audible with 2 audiobooks, thousands of titles in exchange for only books that you absolutely love. You too can be learning on the go to keep that fire burning. Welcome back to The Luminous Mind with Allison Larsen.
Those were some of the challenges that I have had to overcome in my life. Another challenge that I had that I just wanted to mention, because I don't know if anybody else on here will find themselves in the same position, but I had a huge challenge with how can I be a good mom and focus my attention on my family and also help other people in the way that I feel like is part of my purpose and calling, my mission here on earth, which is to help other people grow through the foot zone and through some of the other modalities that I deal with, such as Reiki. How can I do both of those?
Yeah, because that's what I struggle with right now is, you want to be there helping other people, but you've got that whole other responsibility, that you don't want that to fall through the cracks either. So give us some ideas.
I would be glad to. I'm glad that you brought that up. I was asking my kids the other day as I have more opportunities come. I do have quite a few opportunities like to travel. I've started having people ask me, TV shows or radio shows or classes or whatever it is. And so there have been a couple of things that have helped me out a bunch. And one is just setting some boundaries. So I mentioned before that one of my gifts is my ability to focus. Well, that can also be a weakness. Remember when it's turned up too high? So if I am focused on work all day, then my family knows it.
Yeah. Well, and then they suffer, right?
Exactly. And when I'm focused on my family all day, then my work suffers. So what I have learned is how to create some boundaries in my mind. I set up some very clear times that I work, and those are my work times, and I am 100% committed and focused unless there's an emergency. And then when it's my family time, I have to turn off my work brain, and I am 100% focused on my family. And as I asked my children, because this has been a learning and growing process, it's not something I've always done, I sat down with each one of them in the past couple of days and asked them, how do you feel like I'm doing? Do you feel like I'm giving you enough attention? Do you want me to stop working? Do you want me to stay home more? And every single one of them in their own words said to me, you know what, Mom? We feel like you spend more quality time with us now than you ever have. And that's where it really comes down to, is making that time count, being 100% present. When you are with your family, you are there.
Well, it kind of reminds me, I just learned last week about like mindfulness, about being present in that moment, instead of me thinking about other things I have to do after this call, me just focusing on, what we're doing right now. And is that what you're talking about? Like creating those boundaries and barriers so that we can, like you said, 100% focus, just mindfully thinking of that.
Exactly. Live in the moment. Live in the moment. But part of living in the moment is also allowing time for yourself to prepare for the future. So that is a really great point, because it's really hard to focus on being present when you're worrying about what you have to do next. So another trick that I've learned, besides setting up those clear boundaries, is to allow myself time to prepare. To allow myself every day time to prepare the meal, maybe put it in the crock pot, or prepare a schedule, or to arrange rides, whatever it is. If I don't give myself the time to do that, then I can't be fully present in the moment because I'm having to deal with the crisis at hand.
Well, tell us more about some of the mentors that you've met along the way and the significant difference that they made in your success. You talked about the foot zonologist that taught you how to do this. Is there any other mentors that you want to talk about?
Yes, my mentors are very near and dear to my heart. And I actually just got back from a class called Art of Mentoring with Kirk Duncan, and he's been one of the mentors that I look up to. And one thing that he said is, in life, we always have somebody ahead of us, and we always have somebody behind us. It's like being on a freeway or a highway. And we have the opportunity to look at the people ahead of us and follow them, and then we have the opportunity to help the people behind us. It doesn't mean that the people ahead of us are better and the people behind of us aren't as good, but what it means is that you have been given certain opportunities to learn in your life, and certain people are placed in your life from whom you can learn, and then you have the opportunity to teach and help others and pass along that information. The very first mentor that really came into my life, J.R. Smith is his name, and he doesn't even do mentoring anymore. He was the very first one that introduced me to the concept of vision boards and to the concept of really choosing how we want our life to be rather than just allowing it to happen however it's going to play out.
Yeah, exactly. Like having a good understanding, like you said, a vision of who you want to be.
Exactly. And it was him that helped me realize how powerful I was. Along the way, I've had other great mentors. Amber Peterson, the lady who helped me co-found Family Fit Reflexology, she has been an amazing mentor and helped lead and guide me through the foot zoning process, through learning energy. Amy Walker, wonderful business mentor. She has helped my business grow so much. And Kirk Duncan, like I mentioned before, he, through his classes and through what he has taught, I've really been able to break through some of those barriers and to really turn those stumbling blocks into stepping stones.
That's awesome. I love talking about mentors because I do feel like they do make a significant difference in our lives. So, and we've talked about exercise, setting up mind blocks and stuff like that. But do you have any other habits that maybe you've implemented in your personal life that you feel have been really helpful to you?
Yes, I do. And this is something I know many, many people believe in. And that is, like I mentioned, vision boards and affirmations, and some people call them declarations. And what this is a vision board is something where you put what you want in a picture form, somewhere where you can see it often. And then a declaration or affirmation is the words that you say to get those negative thoughts or to combat those negative thoughts in your mind so that they don't turn into those negative emotions. So those two things are absolutely amazing, and I would not go without them. There have been times when I've said, I really don't need to look at my vision board. I don't need to say my declarations anymore. And every time I do that, I regret it because I stop hitting my goals. So those two pieces are very, very powerful. And a third piece that I like to add to that, something that I do, is I actually take the time to listen to my inner child. So it may sound a little out there for some people, but let me explain it a little bit. So you have children, right, Rebecca?
Yeah.
What happens when a 2-year-old does not get what they want?
They throw a fit. They have a tantrum.
They throw a tantrum. Well, guess what? We have this little part of us that's still 2 years old inside. And when we don't listen to our body, when we don't listen to our spirit, when we don't listen to hear what we need to nurture and take care of ourselves, then that little 2-year-old inside is going to throw a tantrum. And that tantrum can look like an emotional breakdown in the middle of Walmart.
Yes.
Experience.
Yeah.
It can look like a major physical issue in the body. It can look like extreme fatigue and being very tired. So basically what's going to happen is your body is going to create an opportunity for you to pay attention. So I decided that I was going to create that opportunity before my body told me I needed to. And I just take time daily just to check in with myself and just to ask, what do I need today? Sometimes the answer is a nap. Actually, quite often it's a nap.
Sometimes especially as a mom, right?
Exactly. And I used to feel so guilty taking naps, and now I just realize, hey, if I listen to my body, I'm going to have so much more energy and be more fully present, and it's so worth it. Sometimes my body tells me, hey, we want to go play today. Let's go out and have a fun time playing with the kids outside, going to the park, swinging on the swings. Sometimes I check in and I need a bath. Sometimes I check in and I hear, you know what, I am good today. Let's go for it. Today's going to be a power day. Going to get all those things completed that have been waiting to be completed. So that's something that is a very, very powerful tool. And if you take the time to do it, you will spare yourself from a lot of emotional breakdowns and a lot of physical aches and pains, and you'll have a lot more energy.
I think that is a powerful thing. I think as human beings, we want to try to, please and do for everyone else, but sometimes we forget the most important component to that, and that's really being healthy to be able to do those things. So that's very inspiring to me. Thank you. So I want to hear more about the services you offer. Your classes, retreats, your individual sessions. What do you offer other people?
Yes, so we offer online classes, which is amazing because really anybody who has the internet connection can learn the entire foot zone. We also offer 2-day workshops where people can come and learn the full foot zone in 2 days. And the real purpose of these 2 classes are for individuals who are wanting to be empowered to heal within their home with a different modality and aren't wanting to pay thousands of dollars either in travel or in certifications. So that's a really easy, simple program meant to help people to be able to learn the full foot zone to use with their family and friends.
Oh,
for those
who are,
I think we're the only program out there really that does that. So another service that we offer is for those who want to become practitioners, want to see clients. We do offer practitioner certification.
Oh, that's neat too.
Yeah.
And then you talked about individual sessions. Is that, do you do individual sessions where you take care of other people through foot zoning, or is it mostly just teaching people how to do that?
I do. I still have some spots available each week where I actually see foot zone clients. And then I do have spots available for Reiki. We didn't talk much about that, but I do and teach about energy as well. And what makes that program unique is I do it in a 100% Christ-centered manner. So I think a lot of people get really put off by energy work because they don't understand how it fits into their religious beliefs. So we teach a simple Christ-centered energy healing-based program where we teach people how to be energy healers in a Christ-centered way.
Oh, that is interesting because sometimes that Eastern medicine, it's definitely more about mindfulness and some of those things than, some of our religious beliefs. Especially in my area, a lot of people, they have that belief and they just, like you said, don't see how that fits in. So that's awesome. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about some of the success you've seen? You've talked about that one patient that you helped, but what other successes have you seen?
I will tell you, and I might get a little emotional here, but the number one success that I've seen is with my own family. And I'll give you an example. So I mentioned I had some teenagers. Here's how I would like things to go after school. I make a big snack and have it spread out on the counter. So when the kids come home, they have this nice food to eat. I've got music, spa type music playing in the background. And in my mind, I'm envisioning my daughter the other day, when she came home, I envisioned her coming and sitting at the counter with this food, this nice calm music playing, and us holding hands across the counter and looking into one another's eyes and just telling her, you can cry about anything that happened in your day, or you can tell me all those important things, and let's just connect, and you can just tell me all about your deepest desires and fears and what's going on in your life. So that's my vision. Here's how it actually happened.
I was going to say.
Yeah. My daughter, for example, my 14-year-old daughter came home the other day. Hey, Mom, I'm home. Hey, hon, I've got some snacks over here. Let's sit and visit for a minute at the counter. Oh, that's okay. I'm kind of tired. I'm just going to grab something and run up to my room. So I've made myself available. I'm ready to connect, and she's not. Later that day, and I could tell something was a little off this particular day, but I didn't really push it at that time because I know with her, if I push it, then it's, probably not going to be a good thing. So later on in the day, I'm trying to make dinner. I'm trying to get the boys to football practice. I'm late getting them to practice. Something's burning on the stove. I'm trying to coordinate things. And my daughter comes down and says, Mom, I really had a bad day. Can we talk?
And you're like, what?
I'm like, no, I can't. So later that night, I gave her a foot zone. And as we sat down, there's something very humbling about sitting at someone's feet, and something very non-threatening to the person that you're sitting in. And it's almost like I'm no longer in that mother capacity. It's now that I'm in a serving capacity. I'm there just to serve and to listen.
That's an interesting thought.
It is neat. And as I touched my daughter's feet with that loving intention, just to love her and to serve her, and as I worked on her foot and as she used the Feelings Very Live book to look up the different emotions that were showing up, we got to her stomach point. And her stomach point was really showing up on her foot. And so she just automatically goes to the book and looks up, and stomach aches and stomach problems have to do with self-esteem. And she read that and she just started crying. And she said, Mom, there were some kids at school today that were really mean to me. And I'm not feeling very good about myself.
Wow.
And it was such an amazing opportunity to connect with her in a way that I don't think I otherwise would. I mean, sometimes I feel like before I learned the foot zone, like we were all living in the same house, but that was it. Like we were just ships passing in the night, kind of here and there. And there have been some times when I was really ready to connect with my kids or my family, and they weren't ready to connect with me, or vice versa. So to me, the most miraculous thing about the foot zone in my life, the most miraculous thing I've seen, is my ability to connect with my children in a meaningful way.
Wow. And that's just super inspiring to me, because I think that's where that makes the difference between, a really high functioning family and just one that's just functioning, one that doesn't have that connection and stuff. So that sounds wonderful. And I love how you've offered people to do this and have that kind of connection with their own families. So tell us some of your long-term goals and what you're planning on doing in the future.
Oh my goodness, I am so glad you asked that, because it gives me an opportunity. I've been coming up against some walls lately that, the business has been growing so quickly. And as people really learn how powerful this tool is and how they can connect with their families and others around them, and how it's helping them on the physical, emotional, mental, and even spiritual levels, there's been a big demand for it. And so I'm currently in the process of continuing to grow and expand. I have limited amounts that I travel, but I do travel all over the country teaching foot zone classes. I've got a group in Virginia and groups in Texas coming up in the next few months, working on getting more coaches so that I can duplicate this system and get it out to even more people. I also have some things in the work. I'm published in one book so far called The Healer's Call, and have a CD out called Total Health Makeover, sold through Aroma Tools and giftoftheearth.me. And I have some plans in the future for perhaps some more materials like that. So you may see those out there.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Great. I love how you're helping other people, which leads me to my next question. If you could leave a legacy, what do you hope that's going to be?
If I were to leave a legacy, if people were to look back and think of one thing or to learn one thing from me, it would be this, that they are loved and that they are empowered. And I really want people to know that they have the power to be able to use their bodies and the message their bodies is giving them to be able to move forward and progress through life, to turn those stumbling blocks into stepping stones.
That's so inspiring. Thanks so much. And then before we say goodbye, do you have any final parting words for our listeners? And then give us your contact information, how we can go ahead and get in touch with you.
Yeah, final words for listeners. If there was one piece of advice that I were to give everybody on this call, if there's one thing that you would walk away with, it is this. Just take the time to connect. Connect with your family, connect with the people around you, whether you choose to do that through foot zoning or whether you choose to do that in a different way. If you take the time to connect with people, you will not regret it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then your contact information?
So people can reach me through my website, familyfootreflexology.com. I can also be reached at familyfootreflexology@gmail.com. And I would love to hear. I've got on the website, I've got some free charts, some free information where people can learn how to do the reflex points for earaches, digestive issues, as well as some lymphatic system issues. So we call them free cold and flu charts. So check those out, get those charts. And check out the other things that are on our website. I would love to see some people at my upcoming classes.
Thank you so much for joining us, Allison. It's been a great opportunity to hear from you and to learn from you. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Rebecca.
Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind. To learn more about Allison Larsen, go to our show notes at theluminousmind.net. Be sure to become a subscriber to our free email list and consider joining our program by going to the scheduling tab to become a fire starter today. Help support the podcast by making all your Amazon purchases through the free Amazon widget on our website. Also, sign up to receive 2 free audiobooks from Audible at theluminousmind.net. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Google+, and now Pinterest. Get our audio content by subscribing on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. To help us grow, consider telling your friends about us. Leave us a review. Tell us how we can help you so together we can continue to light minds on fire and change the paradigm of education.